The dominant view that comes to people around the world when they hear the word Japan is culture, civilization, technology, and perhaps cuteness. Japan is a great nation that was able to go back on its feet after getting bombed by two nuclear bombs, which resulted in big destruction and the death of more than 200,000 citizens. The Japanese people are known for their polite manners and cuteness. But was it always like this? Going back in time and before the end of the Second World War, Japan was considered one of the most evil countries out there. In the era between 1929 to 1945, named the Showa era, ruled by the Emperor Hirohito, Japan was controlling double the land Nazi Germany was controlling in the West. And here we're not talking about countries that are easy to invade, including China, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, North and South Korea, Hong Kong, and Vietnam. Japan was responsible for the death of nearly 15 million people in Asia in a direct way or indirect way, presented as mass killings, starvations, and deadly experiments on thousands of war prisoners, especially the most famous and cruel unit 731 of the Japanese army, which resulted in the death of thousands of Chinese people by using biological weapons. They sent planes on Ningbo City, which dropped containers filled with insects injected with plague in 1940. Violence and cruelty was the dominant attributes of the Japanese culture. Another example is in 1937, in the Second Japan-China War, after the Japanese army entered Nanjing, the capital at that time, and killed 200,000 citizens with no resistance. In a period of 6 weeks, thousands of houses and commercial districts were robbed, and more than 20,000 women were raped. This incident became known as the Nanjing Massacre. In an interesting event, one of the Nazis, named John Ray, who lived in China at that time, was able to save the lives of 150,000 Chinese people by establishing a safe zone called the Nanking Safety Zone. We now wonder how come this image of Japan changed so drastically, and how did this transformation happen? The Japanese people thought that it's time for the world to hear other things about Japan other than its military capabilities. So they decided to use soft power or cultural elements to communicate with other nations. This is called public diplomacy. For this to happen, they formed the Japan Foundation in 1972, whose role was to distribute Japan's arts, culture, and language all over the world. One of the most important tools they used were anime and manga. The unique style of anime and manga, which differs from the Western cartoons and comics respectively, made them very useful and were largely supported by the government. Anime and manga effect led to the emergence of many trends, both in Japan and the world. The first famous one is kawaii, which means cute in Japanese. Basically, it refers to the beautiful, shining face of a girl with big eyes and red cheeks, as you see them in manga and anime. This overboard cuteness was seen all over fashion, writing style, and shops designs. It reached a level in which girls started to do plastic surgery to make their eyes bigger and wider, as seen in anime characters. Another trend was buriko, which is given to girls who act deliberately cute and or innocent in a put-on way. Anime, manga, and the trends that emerged from them, kawaii and buriko, made the distribution of Japanese culture easy and very attractive. In the 1970s, the Japanese cultural products were being distributed intensively. Many animations and video game consoles were Japanese, including Nintendo and Game Boy in 1988, and Sega in 1986, as well as Wii and PlayStation consoles. Many famous game characters are from a Japanese origin as well, such as Sonic, Mario, and Pac-Man. Alice in Wonderland, even though it's from English origin, was mostly seen in the 80s and 90s in the Japanese version. A Japanese TV series called Ocean tried to view Japan as a strong, brave, and nice nation through the personality of the main character. It was dubbed, translated, and distributed by the Japanese government and was given for free without copyrights for more than 65 countries around the world. Pokemon is another famous Japanese product in the 90s. It was even put on the cover of the Time magazine. Besides all that has been mentioned, they did what was called grant aids in more than 30 countries around the world, consisted of services and aids without a return, such as operas, metros, hospitals, and ambulances, all having the words "present from Japan" written on them. At the end of the 19th, a financial crisis hit Asia, called the Asian Financial Crisis in 1997. It presented a strong blow to the Japanese economy. The American writer and journalist Douglas McGray said in 2002 in an essay that Japan has a big cultural reserve called Japan's gross national cool, which, if organized properly, can make a huge improvement in the Japanese economy. This idea was taken seriously by the Japanese government, and a new term, national cool, was echoing through all the effectors of Japan, which led to the emergence of a new term called Cool Japan. The subject of cuteness was dealt with more seriously, and many exhibitions and festivals were held, such as Japan International Manga Award, Tokyo Anime Award Festival, and Cosplay Summit. They were held both in Japan and around the world, sponsored by the Japanese government. In 2013, Cool Japan Fund was established to support companies that can distribute Japan's culture around the world through their products and services. In the end, Japan is just like any other country. They have their own share of a dark past, but the future of the Japanese people was changed by their efforts and desire to start a new beginning for an era of a loving, peaceful Japan. Thank you for watching.